Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, my golf friend. How are you? Welcome back to Think Above Par. I'm super happy that you're here. So today I have an excerpt from a call. I have these live group coaching calls where I teach and I coach people and they share their wins and they come up with some questions. And it's a great moment to connect and talk about all things mental golf. And so I have those inside of my community called Your Mental Caddy. I'm just moving it over to a platform called School. And I've moved my membership around to 3 or 4 different platforms. So I'm transitioning people over there. And while I'm doing it, I'm opening up the doors for anybody to join for a 7-day free trial. And I'd love to have you in there as well. But in this excerpt from this call, Jennifer asks a question, and she's been in the community and a client of mine for a long time, about CCC. CCC stands for calm, certain, or confident. And I share that for you to play your best golf, you have to first figure out what your preferred state is, meaning the preferred state that you want to play golf from, where you swing freely and you think clearly. I want you to think of it as like your green light day, when you're having your best day ever. And I asked you, how did you feel that day? Most people will tell me they were either calm, relaxed, certain, or confident. So I call it CCC. And so the goal then is, once you figure out that preferred state, is to hit as many dang shots from there as possible. Because if that's your preferred state and you're swinging freely and thinking clearly, then this should be how you access most of your talent. So I developed a tracker to track how many shots that you hit from calm, certain, and confident. And my clients and members inside of Your Mental Caddy have noticed an inverse correlation between the number of shots that they hit from calm, certain, and confident and their score. Now, of course, there are variables in golf involved in that you can't control, elements like wind and conditions and lies and bad luck and good luck that can affect score. So Jennifer jumped on a call and explained how she got out of the habit of keeping track of her calm, certain, and confident shots. And I want to share that excerpt with you so you can learn a little bit about the process of creating habits and sticking with it and the power of keeping track of your shots. So without further ado, here's an excerpt from one of my live open tee coaching calls. Jennifer.
I don't have any. Well, I do have some wins, but I do have a question too.
Okay, shoot.
Using the app has made me go back to it's weird how you do something and it works, but then you eventually stop doing it. For me, being focused on CCC in the past made a big, huge difference. But it's almost like in my head, I was thinking, oh, okay, you got that. You don't need to focus on that anymore. Well, using the app, the correlation is obvious. The higher my percentage of CCC, the lower my scores. And I'm seeing that. So I guess I'll just be doing this the rest of my life. Golf life, I should say.
Okay, so this is the thing. And I want you all to hear this very clearly. And thank you, Jennifer, for bringing that up. Is that we are habit machines, right? And so just doing it once or twice does not make it a habit. We think we got it, like we're good. And this is where self-awareness comes back in. Let's just say there's just either A or B. You're either doing the tracker, which is useful and creating some great results, or you're doing something that's not useful. This would be black and white kind of thing. And you're creating results over there. So you're ingraining either one of those habits. Which one are you doing, right? So one is intentional and we're thinking about it. We're doing the tracker. We're bringing it up to the front part of our brain. And the other part is our old habits that creep back in. That is why your consistency in doing this is going to serve you. It's like stopping practicing your golf swing, right? It is mental golf. Mental management is a practice, like I've mentioned before, relative to whether you're practicing medicine or you're practicing law, you're practicing yoga. It's a practice. So is golf. Golf is something that you just don't own and you can stop doing. Jennifer, I'm just going to say all of our brains are the same way. We think that I'm good. I know Karen's brought it up before. She's like, yeah, I thought I had it. And then you feel like you go backwards sometimes. It's because we just sit there and we feel like, yeah, I got it. I'm good. I don't have to work on it anymore. And sometimes it's not that it's necessarily up on the
front part of our brain and we cannot put as much energy into it. And that feels like we're not focusing on it. But the self-awareness part of realizing some old patterns are coming back in, what was I doing before that worked that I can go back to? This is for everything. People will stop setting intentions. They'll stop having a list of power thoughts that were useful for them. And the next thing they know, the old habits creep back in. That's why when I coach people one-on-one, I only sell packages. It's because I can't provide results for you in one call. And I want the consistency of people going through and creating a package because I want to create a result for you. I don't want to just give you a tool and something for you to think about, because what happens is we're going to have a conversation one-on-one. We might have a great call. And I know a lot of you on here have done one-on-one work with me. We'll have a great call and you're like, yeah, I'm good. And then people might not talk to me for 2 months and old habits crept back in. It's like starting all over again. That's not the way that I want to help people. I want to create results. Going back to your point, you were the person, I'm just going to tell you, that drove me to create that. You were the impetus behind it because of what you said, because you collected the data, as did some other people. And I was like, this is amazing. I knew it, but that when you started providing that and other people were, you got to be a data person in the beginning. You are. That's why I tried to make this app, is because not everybody's brains like data. So I tried to make it as simple as possible. But once you have that evidence of that correlation between the two of them, then the motivation is to keep doing it. Just like you said, I don't want it to be a burden. With that being said, I don't want you to feel like I have to do this every day. It's a self-awareness tool. So is steer is a self-awareness tool. So the more that you are self-aware, it's like changing a swing. When I taught golf mechanics, I would tell people, you want to do it enough times, whatever you're doing, the swing change that you're trying to make, so that the old thing, when you do it, feels yucky. If you're swinging into the inside, you're taking it off plane, you're inside. I want you to swing and go down the swing path so many times that when you do take it to the inside, you're like going, I felt it. Because the reason that you're doing it is because you don't know that you're going inside. So that you're not feeling it. You're not noticing it. I want it to be like, okay, now we're making progress. Same thing with this. I want you to do it so many times and repeat it enough times that when you're not doing it, when you're stepping into places where you're not calm or certain or confident, that's not my norm anymore. That's my outlier. Are you with me? I want you to sit there and go, this is sticking out to me like a sore thumb now. Then you're doing it enough times and repetition that you're switching to the positive side. That makes sense? A little bit?
Yes. Okay. Well, and I noticed that it was just changing my thinking as I'm approaching my ball. It changed my thinking because I had all these other thoughts when I was looking at my lie and getting ready to line up and all that kind of stuff. But now I still go through my routine, but my emphasis, my focus is on, I want that CCC. Mm-hmm. That, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to be like, no, that one wasn't CCC. I want the CCC.
Right.
Versus, I don't know how to explain it. I still do all the things that line up and make sure, this and this and this, but that CCC is more important to me.
Yes. Okay. So it's the 3 stages of awareness, right? In the beginning, when you're doing this, when you're doing the CCC, you're noticing it after the fact. So you're in the clubhouse and you're looking back and you're saying, oh my gosh, on the 7th hole and on that shot, on this shot, I was not in that state. That's the first stage of awareness. And that's what the tracker does. When you do the tracker and you go back, you're like, wow, okay, look at all those shots that I'm noticing after the fact. And so then you get into using it and you're a little more over the moment, depending on whether you're doing it hole by hole or if you're doing it after, because I have both trackers and they're depending on what you like. Right now you're in the moment, you're like, I'm pissed and I'm about to swing and I'm not calm, certain, and confident. This is where now you need a tool. You need to know how to switch to being more calm, certain, and confident. This is what we talk about. You got to be able to shift those thoughts. You got to have some self-awareness. You got to be able to process emotions. You got to have some power thoughts to get you back to where you want to be. And then the last stage is you get ahead of it, right? I'm going to go into the shot. I'm pissed and I have a minute before I hit this golf ball. I better pivot now. I'm frustrated. I'm going to save it for the clubhouse, or I'm walking in and I can feel myself being a little nervous and anxious about this shot. What am I going to do before I get to this golf ball? That's where you get ahead of it. You get to a point where once you get over a certain percentage, then you're like, what was I doing on those other 30%? Let's say if you're at 70%. What was my major emotion on those 30%? I'm going to say, for the most part, it's not going to be 20 different emotions. You're going to have a pattern of emotions that get in your way, things that are harder for you to pivot out of, nervousness or anxiety, or it might be that you're just angry, right? I'm not saying you, I'm just saying one. But one is angry, like I'm pissed all the time on the golf course. Okay, that gives you your direction on what you need to work on. But it's beautiful when you get yourself to a percentage. Now you're sharpening the saw, so to speak. Okay, now let's fine tune this stuff so that I can get up and be in that 90 percentile as many times as possible. That's a beautiful thing. Are you with me on that? Yeah. And so what I heard you say is that you want to be calm, certain, and confident over as many shots. So using the tracker is not noticing it after the fact that I wasn't.
Correct. It's almost like I'm not focusing as much on the score I shot on that hole. If it's a par 4, I want to be able to say I was confident and relaxed and calm and certain on 4 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking as I'm walking up to my ball. I want this to be a calm, confident, and certain one.
Yeah.
I don't.
What you're doing is setting an intention for your brain. That's so much better than letting your brain go off and doing its brain things. So that's so great. I don't want you using this information against you. I don't want you to beat yourself up because you couldn't get to calm. There's going to be times where you can't do it. And there's going to be a shot where you're just standing over the golf ball and you hate the visuals. And no matter what you do, you can't quiet your brain because the visuals are horrible. There's water, there's out of bounds, there's people. Put in those situations, you got to learn how to manage your mind. And so you can't get to calm, right? It's very, very distracting. So that's where tools come in. I have tools that I offer you, like crowding out, doing things to get up in your prefrontal cortex, breathing. Do you want to find things that work for you? Those are things that we want to use in those moments where I can't sit down and do a whole steer and write it out and do a journal and take some time. Like I got to hit. So don't use that information against you is my point. So don't get perfectionist about it. There's situations we can't control that, this is what golf brings up, different scenarios all the time. I use a scenario about playing in South Africa and there's a giraffe on the side of the hole. Didn't anticipate that. Didn't have a plan for that one. I had to manage my mind on the spot and I did not. I'm just going to tell you, I did not. I looked at the giraffe, right? So what she was talking about, how she loves using the tracker, the CCC tracker, and noticing the inverse correlation between the number of shots that she hits from there and her score. And she got out of the habit of using it. And so I love that. I love all of it. So thank you so much for sharing about that. And I want to thank you too for being the reason that I created that in the first place. So I appreciate your data-driven brain on doing that. It's become a very, very useful tool. So I appreciate it. All right, my girlfriend, there you have it. Using the tracker, keeping track of the number of shots that you hit from calm, certain, or confident is such a useful tool, awareness tool, that clients are seeing the inverse correlation between that and their scores. And that's the whole purpose of using it. And if you want to get your hands on it and you want to learn more about how to use that, I encourage you to start a free trial at Your Mental Caddy. You can go to yourmentalcaddy.com and get a 7-day free trial today. All right, my friends, there you have it. All right, my friends, so there you have it. Using the tracker that I developed to keep track of your calm, certain, and confident shots and noticing the correlation between that and your scores is such a useful tool for not only for self-awareness, but really being aware of the state that you're in and how many shots that you're actually in a state that doesn't serve you. And so if you want to learn more about that, if you want to get your hands on this tracker and experiment with it right now at the time you're listening to this, I know that I am offering a 7-day free trial in Your Mental Caddy, and I'd love to see you in there. So head over to yourmentalcaddy.com and hop in and poke around and take a look. All right. Have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.